Welcome to another episode of the LanceScurv Show. I have to say that nothing happens before its time. And if something's meant to be, it's going to happen whether you have it planned or not. Many of you know me for doing this show for a very long time. And you know that I schedule shows, and you know that I'm like a fireman. I can do something at the last minute that's not planned if it drops in my lap and it's good. Most often, the forces of the universe will bring people together for a common cause as they have similar paths. Well, today I was connected divinely with a gentleman who has a story to share. And never before did I ever hear anyone articulate the situation that many people find themselves in that we usually call targeted individuals and gang stalking. And for the brief time that we spoke, I knew that tonight we had to speak. And we wanted to share his story with you tonight, just the same way he did. So I'm going to give him full reign. And of course, I'm not putting any names, addresses, social security numbers, or anything out there. We're keeping that between ourselves right now. But I've known recently many things that I've gone through that were a bit strange. And in speaking to many targeted individuals, I know that I'm on the fringe. But like David and Goliath, we move forward and without fear. Once you make up your mind to fight, you have no fear because you know that in the end, no matter what it takes, you will be the winner. So he is going to probably give me a fictitious name that I can just refer to him as the show goes on. But he's going to break down what a targeted individual is, why people gang stalk, and what's behind this whole covert, the powers that be type movement. Why? Innocent people, people who have nothing to do with anything bad, people who are going about living their lives. Why are they chosen and literally driven insane in many cases because someone wants to stalk them? Well, we're going to get some answers tonight, and I hope you all enjoy the program and understand that this is not just for entertainment. This is real. And in the future, as you always know, you can reach out to me at 407-924-8793. And I just want to say for everyone else that's been trying to contact me on 321-310-7326, that number is still good to take in calls, but to take in text messages right now, it's not working. So call me on that or text me on the 407-924-8793. It's in the description area below. Now, for the meat of the matter, let's get to it, my brother. We spoke about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, Lance,
yes.
Yeah, Lance, thanks for having me on your show. And you covered a lot of ground in your introduction. You know, I have to say right out of the gate, this is obviously, you know, I'm a little nervous. This is going to be the first time. This is going to be the first time in American history that some of this information will be disclosed to the general public. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to let it out.
Let it flow and take your time.
Okay. So a little introduction to myself. You know, I'm a little over 40. I live in the Denver, Colorado area. About 5 years ago, I realized that something was going on around me. I realized, you know, I began to see the street theatrics and a lot of the psychological warfare, and it was heavy. It was intense. This has been 5 years ago. I was scared. I was frightened, and I'm just doing kind of a short dissertation of my personal experience because I don't know the level in which people are on or at. There's different stages of these operations. In fact, what it is, it's a takedown program by the federal government. Mm-hmm. And by the end of this show, everybody that has tuned in this evening, you are in an elite group. I want you to know that. And in time, I will prove to be a man of my word with great energy and focus as well. Myself, 5 years ago, I realized that there were a number of people around me. I quickly, based on who I am and based on my genetics and based on a couple of other things, and we're going to get into that later, but I just had that instinct. It's the ESP that we're naturally born with. We will also get into that later. I knew, my heart knew, my soul knew that I was in danger, extreme danger. I obviously went through the panic mode. I went through that phase. I went through very shortly the aggressive, angry side, and mind you, my friends, please do not entertain that. If you're there now, move past it. Humble yourself down. Just humble down and begin to take all of this in. And most importantly, some details will be disclosed tonight. And this is about to change. This entire situation is going to change because the time has come for me to do the right thing and follow my heart and put the fear in the back seat, because it's not my ally. So they can keep it. I devised a plan to become my own private investigator. I began looking into people, and mind you, I'm not trained in this area. I don't work for law enforcement. I'm not a private investigator. I don't have a college degree in this area. I basically was left on my own to fend for myself. And about a year and a half into this operation that I am a victim of, I began to shape my thought processing. I began to build defense mechanisms mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because that was my only way to survive during the time. I was obviously followed 24 hours a day. The woman that was placed into my life, we're going to get into detail about her a little later. She is actually responsible. Now, just stick with me, because I'm going to walk through this and do it effectively so you understand what happened here, because this will explain what our future holds for us. This individual that infiltrated my life approached me, obviously charmed me. She was very wealthy, from Europe, European. She had all the credentials. Okay, so, and we were quickly married after 6 weeks, and I had been divorced for 15 years. So obviously that pattern was a red flag for not only myself, and I was in denial about it, but for a lot of people around me who were no longer around me anymore. Obviously, I've disconnected with family, lifelong friends. Not only yourself, but people around you are also targets. And I mean that in a sense that they are utilized as a tool. Everybody has their parts. And the thing about it is, the financial backing behind this is unreal. Their financial backing, the millions of dollars that goes into each person who is a targeted individual. The staging of events. They have infiltrated websites. They run everything around you, 100%. Nothing happens without them either knowing about it or they created it themselves. I have to tell you at this point, fear is your enemy. Do not entertain the fear. Build yourself and build your mentality and your patterns of thinking to a point to where you know, whether you convince yourself or we become friends or we build our own group, this is not an advocacy group. This is a different thread. This is a completely different situation. Going through my experience, I began to investigate the people around me. I'm an average guy. However, I do possess an extremely high IQ. So I have a certain level of intelligence. And I'm going to give you a hint right now. That's why I am a TI, because of my level of intelligence. And we are going to get into DNA structure, and we are going to also disclose to the public tonight why this program exists. Why? Yeah, I know you have to be sitting there thinking, I can't wait to hear this. When you hear it, I'm going to tell you right now, when you hear this, don't say no to it and don't push it away. Please entertain it and do your research, because my research, there's reasons why I come to this conclusion. There are reasons why I found the answer. There are the reasons why I was able to get my hands on documents. There are reasons why high-ranking officials, international stories are tied into my case, and I can explain it all, and I have the documents to back it up. So I began investigating people around me. So obviously I'm going to start with my wife, and let me tell you, she injected me with a tuning coil. Those of you who do not know or who are not familiar with a tuning coil, well, originally the tuning coil was invented by a gentleman by the name of Nikola Tesla. Some of you may know who he is. He was an Rh negative bloodline typo. Oh man, I just gave it away, didn't I? Awesome. So he invented the original tuning coil, and if anybody knows anything about American history, they will know that the federal government came in, kidnapped him, seized all of his research work in his barn, seized the property, and nobody knows where the property is conveniently, but they seized his scientific work. Nikola Tesla actually invented electricity. So they want to tell us that somebody else did it. It's not true. So that's an interesting place to start, is with this Nikola Tesla individual. The tuning coil has come a long way over our time. Now you can inject it through a needle intravenously. Yeah, I woke up one morning, saw the needle mark in my arm. I was praying that it wasn't HIV or something else. Turns out it was a tuning coil. And so we'll get into how I confirmed that it was a tuning coil later on in the show here. I began investigating the people around me. I discovered that the woman I was married to was actually an undercover FBI agent. And how I discovered this was I went to the FBI because she was talking about terrorism and making bombs and chemical attacks, and how she's tied into the Muslim world. And, she was obviously doing some pretty heavy staging and trying to set me up. And that's what ultimately they want to achieve with each and every one of us, because of who we are. It's a DNA issue, but I'm not ready to get into that yet. So a lot of staging, a lot of acting. I crawled into my attic, obviously found all of the surveillance equipment. I was scared shitless. I immediately took it to the FBI. I had no idea the joke was on me. They were in on it the whole time. I lost my field agent, that I was in communication with. I lost his phone number. So I logged on to the FBI website, regional headquarters in Oklahoma City. I wasn't able to come up with a number for him. And I didn't know at the time, but I gave it a shot. But So I thought I would bounce around the website a little bit and just, you know, see what's on there and see who the bad guys are and all this other stuff. Well, guess who I ran across?
Who?
My wife. Well, her photograph was posted on there. Here's the interesting side of this. I saw the photograph. I knew immediately it was her. That was a 100% slam dunk. That's, you know, I don't need somebody to confirm that. I knew it was her, obviously, but the photograph was taken in 1981. She was a so-called missing person out of Hazel Park, Michigan. And the poor guy that the FBI and the police have been after all this time, he has changed his name 3 times. He's left the country twice, moved back. You know, I have not actually made contact with this individual, but I also think that he may be a victim of gang stalking as well. I'm working on contacting this individual, but I have had no success, and I think the feds are playing a heavy role into that. So, but okay. I downloaded the page from their website to my smartphone into a PDF file. We were separated at the time, and she was trying to get back in. I was pushing her away. And so I thought this was ample opportunity for me to do some staging of my own. I cropped the photograph from the page, put it into an email. We were talking. She's driving in a cab. She had another guy with her, so she had a witness with her. Awesome. Most guys would be jealous. I didn't really give a crap. This actually worked out in my favor. But she had another guy with her, and I thought, okay, so he's going to be a witness to what is about to happen here. I said, you know, I found something I would like to share with you. So when you get time, just let me know, and I'll shoot it over to you. And she insisted. I know, you know, I do a little bit of psychological profiling myself. I've had to learn to do this for my mere survival. I'm sure that many of you know exactly what I speak of. You have to read people. You have to be alert. But what people don't know in the structure of our DNA and why we are actually a target, because we have that gift. I don't have a college degree, but I can assure you I am more accurate than most people that do have a college degree.
Exactly. In
this area. And I'm not being arrogant. I'm just telling the truth. So I planned this whole thing. I set her up. She demanded that I send it over to her. I said, well, put your phone on speakerphone. I'll put you on speakerphone. I want to hear your reaction when you see this. I think you're going to like this. She bought it hook, line, and sinker. I sent it. It popped up immediately. She saw the photograph. Now, mind you, I cropped the photograph from the page. The FBI literature and all that other stuff was not there. It was just the photograph. Her immediate response, oh, that's a picture of me from high school. So at that point in time, I knew, now let's back up a minute. I knew at that point in time, I learned something so incredibly valuable. I learned to trust my gut and to trust my instincts. Because when I first saw her photograph, there was doubt. I knew it was her, but my fear is that I could be wrong. The fear was there. It existed. I had to confirm. I had to hear it out of her mouth that that was her that was posted on the FBI website as a missing person. And after I turned her into the FBI and the Oklahoma City Police Department, the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Department, and by the way, the Oklahoma City Police Department, they're in on this too. And most of your police jurisdictions in your area, wherever you may reside, whatever state, city, trust me, they're in on it too. There's no reason to get into that tonight because I think we all know this. It is shocking. It discombobbles us. It gets us out of balance. All of these stupid details. The ultimate goal is to create this mirage of panic. I mean, absolute panic and disbelief that this could even be happening to me. And to feel completely helpless and powerless when you realize that you can't tell anybody. you know, we can make attempts, we can try. You know, we can give it our best shot. We can spin our wheels, we can chase our tails, we can spend every last penny in our soul and what little energy we have in emotional energy and everything that makes us human. They aim to tap into that and drain those resources from our person. Mm-hmm. And that's how the program was designed. Now, gang stalking. Let me explain the history on gang stalking, because like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, I became my own private investigator, and I became very aggressive, and I stayed completely efficient during this whole process, hiding everything that I was finding. There have been people I've been in communication with during this time who are working kind of some other areas of this case. I mean, when this goes to the American public and then is brought before NATO, because you can't take this to your own government, but, and we'll get into that later. But, you know, I began to realize the seriousness of this, and it was a year into this before I even realized what the hell this thing was. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to call it. The only thing I could think of was, well, there's a lot of people following me, and I'm scared. They've broken into my house. They've poisoned me. I was injected with something. You know, what is going on here? I was doing some research on Google one night, and I then realized the same phrases and some of the same topics or specific verbiage that I had searched on Google before, I was blocked. They, believe me, they own Google. And you need to know that. Excuse me. They own Google and they control Google. Information is placed on Google. Information is removed from Google. It's always in their favor, and there are always very specific reasons behind this. Right. The reasoning behind this is geared in their favor. So I began to do the research on the crime. I discovered it was gang stalking. I got on YouTube and began to educate myself. The origins of gang stalking, that became an important question. Who is the single person who created this program? Who invented it? Who was it used on? When was it invented? Who's using it today? You know, I naturally, I have a thirst for knowledge. And if there's a wrinkle in my life, or something is not in place, or if I'm lopsided or out of balance, I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to discover, you know, what needs to be discovered in order to protect my well-being. Mm-hmm. I discovered gang stalking originated in Germany. It was invented by Hitler. He invented it. He turned the information over to one of his scientists. Believe it or not, by the end of the story, you're going to find out how my case is tied directly to him. We're going to save that for later. So I began to discover the history of gang stalking. And so my next question was, because they didn't go into detail about what it was used for and on who and for what reason, I located the information 3 times over, because I have to do a triple check on something before I can begin to trust, the 3 separate sources and things of that matter. Staying ahead in this game and completely throwing fear out the window is vital. You have to adapt and adopt this concept for mere survival. Throw fear out the window. It's going to be okay. I promise you. Gang stalking was created by Adolf Hitler to kill off the Jews. It was a measure of, and it was the first noted measure of psychological warfare in the history of our world. It was the first documented, structured, manufactured, and choreographed war, it was a weapon that was created to kill off the Jews. And it wasn't created just for the average population. There were secret operatives and military and people of greater intelligence. And then I realized, that's when it all hit me, that all of the research I had been doing on this side was connected directly to that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that I'm of Jewish descent or, European or Native American or because that's not important.
May I interject?
The reason why I'm sorry?
I just want to interject something that for those out there who scoff at the idea of this happening in 2016, simple, I'm going to say this for a reason, simple gang stalking and simple, the simple targeting of individuals. If you can't believe that, then, look back at recent history, look back at the Holocaust, since we're speaking about the connection to the Jewish community.
Exactly.
Look how terrible that was, and look what happened. And that was in a modern day time. We weren't as advanced as we are now, but that actually happened. So with all the technology and what we have now, how could even the mere mention of gang stalking and being a targeted individual be something so far-fetched? Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, thank you. And please, any time, you know what, we're all here working for each other, to protect each other, to educate and empower, our people who are victims. And by the way, there are 1.2 million victims right now in this country currently being stalked and victimized. 1.2 million.
It's a lot.
I'm loaded with statistics and facts and documents. I document everything I discover. A lot of my documents have been stolen over the last 5 years. They have gone way above and beyond. I know for a fact that my case is, in their eyes, is of particular importance because of what I know. They know that I know it because I took it to them and accused them of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of these people. And I don't mean that in a sense that I'm testosterone filled and I'm going to beat somebody up. That's completely idiotic. And we all know this.
Right. I know what you
mean. So following the war, the Americans discovered the documents pertaining to this operation that was created by Adolf Hitler. They confiscated the documents, and not only that, they brought German scientists, medical doctors. They brought a number of people back to the United States with them because of their advanced knowledge of certain things. I can tell you this. The woman that I was married to, her father, he's roughly 81 years old. His name is Claude Zeller. He lives in Portland, Oregon. He's a bioscientist. And before I discovered all of this, she offered the information early on in the first 6 to 8 weeks that I met her. She said, well, yeah, my father is a biochemist, and the government paid his tuition to come here from Germany and, study and do research. That's all she would say was research. At the time, that wasn't a red flag, but now that's an extreme red flag. Zeller is obviously a German name. He is obviously from Germany. I've seen pictures of their family. I'm my own investigator, and I'm not too bad at it. But that was shocking. I was directly tied to a German biochemist.
Amazing.
Who was brought to the United States, studied at the University of Michigan, or taught. He was a professor actually after a couple of decades, but he was trained by the American government. And so there's a lot going on with that, but you can get the rough outline of what I have experienced. I can tell you this, I never met Claude Zeller in person. I never met his wife, in which she claimed was her mother. I never met them in person. They avoided me. They came up with excuses, and I pressed the point. I wanted to meet these people because I was sure that I was onto something. And, you know, living with somebody who is an employee of the federal government, who works for the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and you know in your heart of hearts that they have come there to do you harm, and you know in your heart of hearts that that's illegal, that's a lot to take in. It is. It's unbelievable is what it is. In fact, she looked right at me and she said, "Don't waste your time. They will never believe your story." And I was glad she said that to me, because I realized the sinister nature of these takedown programs. I have identified 11 people who are currently posted on the FBI's website as either a missing or endangered person or a wanted fugitive. 11. I obviously printed off all the documents. I talked to my witnesses. I talked to some of my people. You know, I got all of the information written on the back side of each page. Front side has their mugshot. On the back side, it has my information, you know, of their alias, their current address. Who, you know, I did. I prepared my case and I took it to the FBI regional headquarters in Denver, Colorado. And I had two objectives. My goal, one, was to prove or disprove this whole tuning coil thing. I know, based on information that I received from one of my people, that I could go to the FBI office and just offer up some simple information. It doesn't matter why I go there. I just need to get into the front door, because there is a device there that they use that registers these tuning coils. And, you know, Lance, as we spoke earlier, you know, I went through the metal detector 3 times and they cleared me. And then they pulled a device out of a contraption that was, it was a safe is what it was, but it was solid stainless steel. And the walls on this contraption were roughly, you know, 5 to 6 inches thick. Now, I mean, they had this thing under super guard. I mean, it's obviously an incredibly high-tech piece of equipment, and it's top secret too. So obviously that explains all of that. The gentleman pulls the device out and goes right for my ankle. They already knew where it was. They monitor these things that close. They know where the tuning coil is. Now, these tuning coils can obviously be picked up by a satellite, by a cell phone, by a laptop, by a computer. They have access to that database no matter where they're at, and you're tracked 24 hours a day. And your GPS location gets stored into a bank. They can go back to the day that they installed it into my body. They can go back to that day and retrace every single step that I've made in the last 4.5 years. So, you know, I've discovered that. I've discovered some other things. I've discovered the undercover FBI agents, you know, that were around me, that tried to get into my life, knocking on they sent this hot girl to my apartment in the middle of the night right after I had gotten home from the bar. And, you know, they use these opportunities and different players to their advantage. They already have a psychological profile on you. And I can tell you how I know this, because you do not become a targeted individual until after that process is complete. We were all watched 1 year to 3 years before they ever made it known to us that we were being watched. They spend that time studying you. They create a psychological profile. They know everything about you and way more about you than you know about yourself. And that is an extreme violation of human rights. It's illegal. But nowhere in comparison to some of the other stuff that's happening to us and what we are being subjected to. I mean, you know, the electronic surveillance, I understand that there's a legal loop. They can get around that, but microwaves, injecting people with tuning coils, the psychological warfare, And excuse me, my apartment has floors, and excuse the echo. I'm going to get a legal document from my room here that I wish to share with everybody. I don't know how far our listeners are tonight with the legal side of this, but at some point, we will all join together. I hope it's 1 million people. I hope that we are able to educate the public and ourselves that we are being murdered by our own government. And based on research that I have uncovered and 2 other people that I hired, I think the FBI caught on to them. We tried to keep them hidden, but obviously their cover was blown, and I haven't talked to them since then. We just, look, maybe you don't want to get involved in this, and I'm out of money, so thank you for the information. Take care. I'll talk to you in a couple of years type of thing is how that ended. But the legal side of this, we need a lot of people. We need all of the people who are victims of this crime, because this is ready to go to court. And I don't know if you heard what I just said, but I'm going to reiterate. This is ready to go to court. This is ready for people to stand up and produce the evidence, the undeniable evidence that we are being stalked by our own government because of our blood type. That is the reason for gang stalking, because of our blood type. This is an interesting conversation, and this is where we're about to take this to the next level. I can say that because I'm the only one engaged in this communication right now that knows this.
Yes.
I personally feel everyone that is listening to this show right now, you have no clue as to how lucky you are. And you know what? I am just as lucky as you as well, because I have the information. I have the evidence. After all these years, 5, 6 decades? It's been a long time coming, my friend. And I'm going to tell you that I have solved this crime. It's a bloodline issue. Don't bother looking on Google. They own Google, and they desperately do not want you to get your hands on this information. And after this broadcast tonight, there's no telling what's going to happen. We're all intelligent human beings. And I can tell you this because we're all Rh negative bloodline. That's why we are all targets. I urge everybody right now, get a pen and paper, because I'm going to give you some real quick information. And I want everybody, in an effort to save your own life, write this information down, and please educate yourself, because when you educate yourself on the truth, you are giving yourself the power that they have taken away from you. So this is vital. Please, pen and paper. Here we go. The Rh negative bloodline, only 15% of the planet possesses this bloodline. You may ask, what is Rh negative? What exactly does that mean? There's an Rh positive and there's an Rh negative. 85% of the planet's population possesses the Rh positive. Only 15 possesses the Rh negative. So, and by the way, how I led into this, and I missed something so important. This woman that infiltrated my life, and I eventually uncovered her true identity and everything. During the course of this investigation, a private investigation, because I don't trust law enforcement and I stay away from them. And I'm not a bad person. I'm not a criminal. It's not me. It's not in my fiber. It's not in my moral fiber. But we discovered that this woman worked and was an employee at St. Anthony's Hospital in Oklahoma City in 1986. Just like, in a sense, that I pulled the photograph and, tricked her into admitting that it was her. I didn't trick her. I set her up and she fell right into it, and she was guilty, and I proved my point. So once again, she was an employee at St. Anthony's Hospital in 1986 in Oklahoma City. Yes, believe it or not, the hospital's in on this too. There's a couple of doctors from Russia. There's heavy ties to Russia with this gang stalking. And I can tell you right now, I have not uncovered all of it, but I have some of it. I was a patient at St. Anthony's Hospital in 1986. When this information was uncovered, that was probably the darkest 2 weeks of my existence as a human being on this planet. I can't, even to this very day, I can't put into words what happened to me and the realm in which I entered into. As if it was not bad enough, I just discovered that through the state of Oklahoma and the Department of Human and Child Services and our federal government, that they had been watching me since I was 11 years old. So that explains why they subjected me to all the testing, the IQ testing, the EQ testing. Come on, I'm 11 years old. Why would you need this information? But at the time, I didn't know any better. Dr. John R. Smith was my doctor. He was the doctor that the government hired to come in and do the psychological evaluation on Timothy McVeigh, the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building bomber suspect in Oklahoma City. Yeah, same guy, same doctor, Dr. John R. Smith. He was my doctor at St. Anthony's Hospital. Okay, so now we're beginning to make a full circle with this conversation of DNA. And mind you, it took 2 years, 2.5 years for me to gather all this information and then begin to put it all together and then to believe that it's actually happening. I mean, you know, it's a well-designed program. It's effective. I will give them that. But it's not over yet, because the stalking of a juvenile and conducting testing and, you know, subjecting underage children who, I don't know, I call it human trafficking. For some reason, an event was staged and I was taken from my parents. And I always knew at the time that they hadn't really done anything. So I couldn't really understand why these people were wanting to take me away from my family and take me away somewhere. So I discovered all of that. And that was the darkest 2 weeks of my life. I went into complete seclusion, threw my phone in the lake, ditched my car behind a business. My personal belongings, threw them in the trash. I had one change of clothes and about $600, and I went to a hotel. That was a very, very scary time. And, you know, over the course of the last 2 years, I was homeless for 3 years.
You're telling me.
They will infiltrate your job, your family. They are around you 24 hours a day. They will post 15 employment ads if they know what you do for a living and they know that you're looking for a job. Trust me, they know. There's audio and video 24 hours a day. They know everything about you. You may not know this, but I beg you, please listen to what I'm telling you. The information that I am giving you is going to change this country forever. And I'm going to be at the forefront of this because I'm brave and I'm honest. And I seek justice, not only for myself, but my people who are also victims. So I kind of got off into a little tangent there.
No, you didn't. It's good.
You pick up for
you're flowing.
Here.
Yeah, you're flowing just right. Let me just tell you that people respond to the natural flow of a relaxed conversation more so than the bulleted points, and that's not what you're doing. You're just flowing, and this is natural.
Yeah,
and it's hard to believe that we haven't even known each other 3 hours yet, 4 hours yet. You know what I mean? And this is divine.
Yeah.
So you're doing well. And this is pound for pound the best information that I've gotten from one person on this topic. And like I said, you're breaking it down. And that's not to knock anybody else, but this is really spearheading, you know, this whole awareness. So just keep on flowing. I'm here.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Thanks, Lance. You kind of jumped in there and saved me. Give me a minute to breathe and kind of, and I know that I know right now, everybody that is tuned in right now, I know that you know where I'm coming from. We have been discombobbled. We've been victimized. We've been told that we are schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm working through these things, and I have put a lot of energy into rebuilding my mental health. And I hope that everyone who's listening to this show puts everything they have into that one thing, collecting yourself mentally. Just, you know, level out, humble down. And even if you don't know what to do next, if that's all you have is to be able to contain yourself, I want you to know right now, we are here. The moment of disclosure is happening, and it's happening right now. And you are going to be okay, because I'm going to fight for you. Now, I want to get back to the reasoning behind gangstalking and why. You know, the ultimate reason. Why are they doing this, and why is it of so much importance to them? I'm not stupid, so I knew early on something incredibly important was behind this, and it had nothing to do with what I had done or not done, because I knew that I had no past behind me. There was absolutely no grounds for a federal investigation into my person at any capacity. So I knew in my heart of hearts something very serious was going on, and I had to find it. There is a police chemist, former police chemist out of Oklahoma City, once again. Here recently, I would say 16, 18 months ago was my last correspondence with the feds, and that will be the final. Mm-hmm. I have had nothing to do with them since then, because I realized, you know, they really are behind this, and they really are conducting these operations. I provided some information to them. I was testing the water, basically, and I set the stage very well. I've gotten pretty good at this. With my ex-wife, I was, you know what, I was proud of my accomplishment. I really was, that I was able to take down an undercover federal agent mm-hmm. and put them on the spot and identify them. I would say that that's quite an accomplishment, but you know what, my friends? I'm not done, because we're just getting started. I discovered after the communication with the FBI, it was interesting, because the day that I met with the FBI in Denver, 3 weeks after this interview, it wasn't an interview. They won't even talk to me. They won't tell me anything. They have asked a couple of questions. That's stumbling on their part, because when they ask a question, that speaks volumes. Mm-hmm. Moving forward 3 weeks, I read in the national news that former Oklahoma City Police Department, I hope you're writing this down, because I want you to research what I speak of. What do we call that? A fact check? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. The police chemist, this case was 24 years ago when this happened. The police chemist was taken into custody by the Federal Bureau of Investigations on allegations that she botched, like in the hundreds of cases, and sent people to death row, and they were all sentenced to like life in prison. And I've researched some of the cases, and I urge you, please do it yourself, because that is the most effective method of takedown. Most people don't know how lucky they are being a TI. I'm about to explain to you why. Mm-hmm. A detective showed up at my house during the whole prior to this Joyce Gilchrist case going nationwide. It was a massive case. Prior to this case going nationwide and being blown up into the public and everybody becoming aware of it, a detective showed up at my house a couple of weeks after I turned 18. So I was now a legal adult. They had full reins. This detective came to my house and was accusing me of rape and all this other stuff. And I was completely flabbergasted. I was completely blindsided by these allegations. And my mom, you know, we were sitting in the living room talking to this detective, and I'm just looking at this detective like, you know, what the hell are you doing here? And you know, if you have the Rh negative bloodline, in which you do, because you wouldn't be a targeted individual if you did not. If you are told that your blood type is Rh positive, they lied to you. You can purchase an independent blood test at Walgreens. I think they're $35 if anybody wants to test my evidence and my theory. And there's also been talk about these blood tests being modified via the factory where they were produced. So let's be mindful and let's just pay attention to what's going on here, because when this hits the public, every person in this country is going to go out and buy one of those. You already know what's going to happen. They're going to go way far above and beyond covering this up, no matter what it takes. But they can't kill us. It's not an option. It is a cardinal sin of the program of gang stalking. I would love to explain that later, but I got to keep moving here. Joyce Gilchrist tried to set me up. They were going to arrest me because of my blood type, because I am a threat, and they were going to incarcerate me. They were going to add me with the other pool of Rh negative bloodlines that they had already collected. I think at the time, 4 of them had already been sentenced to death, and it was carried out. They carried out the death penalty on 4 Rh negative bloodline individuals who were set up falsely because of their blood type, and they were sentenced to death, and they were killed under the hands of Joyce Gilchrist. Joyce Gilchrist was an undercover federal agent working for the FBI who went to work at the Oklahoma City Police Department to carry out these criminal acts. The private sector in Oklahoma City caught on to this. So the FBI basically, you know, made it look like they came in to investigate her and just removed her from the job. Well, guess what? 3 weeks following my information I provided to the FBI last year, the story surfaced in national news that Joyce Gilchrist had passed away 3 weeks prior. The very date that they said she passed away was the very day I visited the FBI office. Why did they wait 3 weeks to disclose this to the public? One. My second question is, why was she set free after murdering 4 people? Those are interesting questions, and they're very real.
It's payment.
They stated in the article that she had moved to Houston, Texas, went into secrecy and obtained a job making candles. I'm going to tell you right now, I know there's at least one person that's following this cast tonight who has been around somebody, or who has been associated, or someone's been planted in your life who is involved in the candle making business, or loves or collects candles. I'm just going to go out there and say that now. And I'm not going to get into the candle conversation. That's an interesting story within itself. But this Joyce Gilchrist person had passed away, and they didn't offer a cause of death. They offered no information. So what they did is, when I disclosed the information, they knew that I was on to her in the Bloodline Takedown program. They knew it. At that point, they knew they had to begin covering things up. So basically, they, you know, went to Joyce Gilchrist and took her into protective custody of some type, I would assume. But it was kind of a slap in the face, because when they waited 3 weeks to release the article, and her date of passing was the very day that I visited the FBI office in Denver. I mean, they're either being arrogant or they're being incredibly reckless. So, you know, and I don't have time to entertain it because it is what it is. There's more important things to disclose here. YouTube is the greatest research tool we have available to us as far as research of the Rh negative bloodline. Now, I had to find the importance or the meat behind this whole Rh negative bloodline thing because I had multiple pieces of evidence from when I was 11 years old up to current time that pointed in that direction. Once again, I have to trust myself, and I have to learn to trust myself, and I have to believe in myself. If I see something and then I turn around and it's not there, and then I get into this second guessing thing, do not allow these people to do this to you. Go with your gut instinct and trust yourself and believe in yourself. If you can't at the current time, if you're dealing with, struggling back and forth between did it or did it not, erase the thought and think about something else and come back to it later. Overthinking is something that we do genetically as an Rh negative bloodline. It's a character trait. I wish right now to get into some of the character traits because a lot of people would say, okay, so you're telling us that they're murdering people that have a certain blood type. That's the craziest thing I ever heard. Okay. Is that your argument? Let me present mine. Here I go. Rh negative bloodline. Rh negative stands for the absence of the rhesus monkey gene in the structure of the DNA. Rh negative human beings did not derive from the rhesus monkey. It does not exist in our DNA. In fact, we can't be cloned. There are a list of 200 diseases that we cannot contract. We have a very specific skull structure. We have a very distinctive eye socket structure. Rh negative bloodlines, the eyes can fluctuate in color based on mood, lighting, conditions. At one point in our lives, our hair has changed color naturally. When I was born with blonde hair and blue eyes. When I was 9 years old, my eyes went dark, and so did my hair. It's been that way ever since. So the natural, there's things about this Rh negative bloodline that people don't know because it's been hidden from the public for so long. It's actually top secret, but you have the information now. I urge you, spread this information to everybody you can, regardless if they think you're crazy, because the federal government, they have employees that are around you at all times. You may not know they're a federal agent, but they are an operative of this program. And this program is designed to surround you with people that curtail your talk of gang stalking. They are trained and taught to make you feel a certain way based on a reaction that they give you. It's a calculated action. It's acting. They are taught acting. I mean, the lengths that they have gone to extinguish the Rh negative bloodline from this planet, it's Laurentian, and it is mind-boggling. Back to the Rh negative bloodline, it can't be cloned. I mentioned the list of 200 diseases that we are immune to. We cannot contract. You will either have an extra vertebrae in your back or you will have an extra rib. I am an Rh negative type O, the rarest of all, and the highest purity and concentration of DNA on this planet is Rh negative type O. There's A, there's B, there's AB, and O. And you can be any configuration of the four, but know something. A is going to be just a little less quality, not that it's better or worse. They all have their strengths and weaknesses and their unique characteristics and abilities. DNA is what we're talking about here. That's what this is all about. Please educate yourself on this and other people around you. So I have the extra vertebrae in my back. It's almost like I was born with a tail and they cut it off. But that's why we are here tonight, discussing this topic, is because of DNA. O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix. And the thing about it is, when you do your research, you will be absolutely blown away by the musicians who were Rh negative bloodline, age 27, world-renowned musician. Kurt Cobain's one of them, Janis Joplin, and there's a couple of others, but 27 seems to be the number in which these individuals have been murdered. Mm-hmm. You ask why I say that? Okay, well, it's interesting that you have such a large group of musicians, all the same blood type, all the same age when they passed. They were all musicians, and they all died under the same circumstances, with the exclusion of Kurt Cobain, which it was a drug-induced suicide. So once again, drugs are still involved. There's the band Slipknot, the band Avenged Sevenfold. They were both 27. Founding members of these bands. I mean, I could go a lot of different directions with this right now, but I'm just throwing as much as I possibly can out there because of the importance behind this. It's imperative that we educate people. It's imperative that we, keep our demeanor about ourselves and keep ourselves in check, and, continue to care about ourselves, because I can assure you there are people that do care about us, but because of the way this is set up in the structure of this takedown program, they are purposely being kept away from us. I mean, my family, they are completely destroyed right now. And, for me, it's really hard right now. I'm in the process of, trying to rebuild and trying to build this case and to educate people and trying to get people in my corner that can fight for me and I can fight for them. And, so this is not easy. And I am so privileged to even sit here tonight and tell my story. I'm privileged that even if there's only one person listening to me and that's still with us at this point during the program, I'm an incredibly lucky person because of what I've gone through and because of what I have survived. Not because of them, because of me and my instincts, my natural given abilities. That's why they want to take me out. Now, the Rh negative bloodline, why are they after it? Why are they trying to take down the Rh negative bloodline? Give me specific reasons. I want details. I know that's what you have to be asking yourself right now. To you, top secret information being held by the government. To be good, what I'm about to say for them. It's good for us because we are about to discover why we are here, what we're doing here, and why they want to remove us. Now, notice that I stated earlier my research and talking to a couple of doctors and some nurses and doing thousands of hours of being up all night reading medical books and stuff. It was worth it because I nailed it in the end. The Rh negative bloodline is a metal-based blood. It's copper, actually, is the basic makeup. You have oil-based paint. You have water-based paint. You have, there's many chemicals on this planet, but the Rh negative blood, they cannot determine where it comes from. It is not tied to anything on this planet at any capacity and not even close in resemblance to anything on this planet. So when they discovered this was obviously, huge. They obviously dumped billions of dollars into this topic just to research it and find out what it is. Still to this day, people are still boggled by the Rh negative bloodline. So we all have electricity running through our body. That is the creation of life. It is what keeps us going. And I don't want to take a sidebar and get too far into that, because believe me, it's an incredibly deep topic. But there's electricity that runs through our body. Now, with the technology today, you have satellites and other things that we don't know of yet. You have microwave signals and the manipulation of, you know, a lot of technology has been used in their favor for espionage and spying and things like that. But the Rh negative bloodline is a copper-based blood. That makes it a metal-based blood. That means that, coupled with the electricity that runs through the body, we can be picked up on a satellite. We can be used as a spy machine. Mm-hmm. And I think actually the Russians have the technology, but don't quote me on that. But please feel free to confirm or, you know, debunk. We're all in this together. I encourage you to do your research in an effort to save your life. We are here because there's a certain level of desperation that exists. And I'm about to do something about it. I may go alone and I may have 1 million people backing me. But I'm going to head something so incredible, and I'm going to see it through to the end. I may be killed during this process, but I don't think so. I think I'm safe. I just feel that. I've always felt that way. But the 1.9 gigahertz of electricity that runs through the Rh negative bloodline, that's a sizable amount of electricity for, say, a water-based structure that we live, the body. The Rh positives, they possess the rhesus monkey gene, and the structure of their DNA, it is a completely different compound. It's not anywhere near what the Rh negative bloodline is. It's two totally different materials, completely. They're both red. They share a lot of characteristics, but they're completely different. You know, when I've cut myself and I work in construction and I build stuff and stuff like that. And I've cut myself on the job, you know, multiple times in my career. And I've been outside a couple of times in the sun and I've looked at my blood, and it's like, you know, before this ever happened, before this gangstalking thing ever came along, this is decades ago, I would look at my blood, man, why is it glowing? I mean, why is it, it's not literally glowing, but it has a different color than everyone else's blood. I wonder what's going on here. You know, that was my position. Little did I know what was ahead of me, and I would ultimately discover the truth. Rh negative bloodline, 1.9 gigahertz of electricity. So we're alive. I mean, we're live. We have a higher level of, you know, perception. We perceive things differently than the Rh positive bloodlines. A lot of actors, world-class musicians, people, great artists, philosophers, educators. Do your research about these people, because 90% of them were or are Rh negative bloodline. This topic is so unbelievable to even begin to wrap your mind around this. And that, I think, is where the ultimate challenge is going to be in this case. Based on, now brace yourself for what I'm about to say, because these numbers are real, give or take 80,000 plus or negative, okay? Based on our numbers, we guesstimate, or I, because I've done a lot of research and I've had private investigators, I don't know, some of you may have taken that route too to try to figure out, but eventually I ditched everybody because I had to, for my own sanity and my self-preservation. And I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
And, you know, so I had to distance myself and collect myself. But the Rh negative bloodline you know, part of this case, it is unbelievable. And I'll be the first one to tell you, I know it is. But I also know how true it is. And I know that after all this time, there is a human being in the United States alive right now who dumped their entire soul into discovering the truth that our government spent hundreds of millions of dollars to hide. And you know what? It's not because I'm Einstein. It's not because I have a gifted bloodline. It's not because of anything like that. I'm no better than anybody. I'm a normal person. I got lucky. I got lucky because I utilized some of my own intuitive nature. And I got lucky and stumbled across a couple of things. And I also got lucky because I was awake and paying attention when certain things happened. All I had to do was put it together. That's all I had to do. I didn't have to go looking for it. It came to me and I put it together. So that's how all of this, you know, came to surface. I am a victim of an incredibly unbelievable crime, and a heinous crime by an incredibly powerful organization. And I have been able to achieve, you know, the success that I have and keep myself alive and out of, you know, mental institutions. And I you know, they tried to get their hands on my medical records, my mental health records, and my ex-wife, you know, the fights and the stuff thrown across the room and broken. And if she got pretty violent, she demanded my medical records, that I sign everything over to her so she would have access to it if she ever needed it.
Well, let me interject something also.
Yes.
Interject something also. I spoke to other individuals who have gone through similar, and some not as intense, and some almost as intense as what you're going through. And there's one in particular that had their medical records actually altered to stop them from getting any employment, and to have it where they're forced to take medication that they never had to take, but because it's on paper and they were committed against their will, the whole Baker Act thing. And then they had, okay, this is the kind of medication you take and we have to give this to you, which in actuality clouded their thinking and made them just about insane and crazy. And they had to be strong to think through that.
She forced me to take medication, Lance, and she forced me to take medication. And I knew that, well, I can't say that I knew that it was wrong, because that's not even admissible in this conversation. I knew that it was bad for me, but it was actually the right thing to do because of how I was conducting my own. Let me state right now to everybody, I conducted my own operation. I was fearful. I still am. My life was completely ripped away from me. But there was one thing that I was never going to stop doing, and I'm not going to. It's never going to stop. I am going to continue working these cases. My life now has, you know what? My life now has a really good meaning and a really good purpose. And I know a lot of people outside of our circle can't understand that. But I have to protect myself, and I have to protect the other people who are victims of these crimes. And I have to continue to investigate and conduct my own operations and study. And I have to be, my counter measures have to be in place and have to be utilized. And I cannot pass and leave this earth without knowing or without giving this my all and doing my very best to bring justice. So back to the numbers. Over the last 30 years, based on numbers that were calculated by me and a couple of other private investigators, they were scared off, basically, to put it all in a nutshell. But it's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 900,000 counts of capital murder. is basically what this amounts to. It's around nearly 1 million over the last 3 decades. These numbers represent innocent victims that have been squirreled or rat-holed into death via suicide, drug overdose, into mental institutions, incarcerated. People have disappeared. So those are the numbers as of 2016. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 900,000. And it would be capital murder, and it would be 900,000 counts. So, but then again, I began doing research. Did you know, and I want everyone to know this, I've also researched extensively in the all of the federal law books. I've been to federal libraries. I've been, I've really poured myself into this. And I can tell you, they have backed off of me extensively. They're still here, but a lot of the bull crap that they were, the obvious stuff, and the stuff that would be obvious. I mean, they have resorted to a much more covert approach when it comes to me, because of obviously my ability to produce what I have produced thus far. And I can assure you, I'm not done yet. This is just getting started. There's a lot of stuff I have not mentioned during this conversation for very specific reasons, because it's not safe to let it out yet.
Right.
But I can get close, and I have, and I've disclosed some top secret stuff that nobody wants us to have. We should all feel privileged being engaged in this conversation tonight, and I'm so glad to have this opportunity, Lance, and I can't thank you enough. But in the federal law books, I have just studied this extensively, and I only documented and studied the laws that pertain specifically to this crime. And I can tell you, not only can we prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, if you read the dissertation in the law books when it comes to federal stalking laws, I urge everybody, get this information, get it in your mind, take it in, absorb it, arm yourself with this. It's empowering, and it will help you. It will help you in a sense that you will be one step closer. You won't be all the way there yet. However, you'll be one step closer to the finish line. And unfortunately, we have to take baby steps. And we have to learn to crawl, and then we have to kind of learn to walk. And like I said earlier, Lance, when we spoke, we're going to get banged up along the way. There's going to be intimidation. There's going to be I suspect that this will get incredibly ugly, and they will be caught in the act. They will be caught red-handed, victimizing their own citizens. And I can't really say what happens after that, but it would be incredibly wrong of me morally to go hide in my room for the rest of my life and isolate myself when there are victims out there that need me, that need my friendship, need my somebody that knows what you're going through, somebody that can identify and associate, common ground. Because isolation it's tough. Watching over your shoulder everywhere you go. I think I wrote down like 300 tag numbers one week, and I finally said, this is a waste of time. I've tried every method. I have my own experiments that I use. I'm never aggressive. I'm never rude. I never conduct myself in a manner in which I want to make them angry or provoke them or be provocative. I carry myself in a very professional, moral. I keep my moral aptitude in check, and wow, I mean, it's really paid off. It has helped me. I've come a long way. I was homeless for a great deal of time, and I just recently got an apartment. And so to be, to have my own home again and have my own space and privacy, and it's, it's a great privilege to me to be able to be here where I'm at today. So things are getting better. They have improved greatly. The intelligence that I have obtained and the information that I've uncovered and in the manner in which I put everything together, only solid evidence, no hearsay. There are no holes in my story whatsoever, and I built it that way. I built my own case. I studied the law books. I studied the psychology behind it. I studied the history behind the crime itself, and then I discovered ultimately why this is happening. So, there's not a whole lot more to cover, so it's time to move forward. Mm-hmm. And so the final thing that I want to speak of, and I put high emphasis on this, and that's studying the law books. There's one book, it's got everything in there. Let me get my readers on here. For some reason, the last 5 years, my eyesight is, I think it's through some of the poisoning and I didn't mention, catching people red-handed poisoning me. Mm-hmm. It's happened more than one time, and they've been caught red-handed. So, and I don't think I should go any further with that, but basically what is going on here is this is a violation of constitutional and human rights. It is 42 USC 1985 and 1986. Those are just two of the 400 to 500 federal violations on each one of us. And yes, I did state that correctly. Me, myself, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 600 federal violations, and most of them are criminal acts. Because it states in the federal law book, if you are stalked by a criminal organization or a group of people containing more than two people, it doesn't matter who they work for, what their position is in life. It does not matter if they are engaged, and it states very specifically, it is unlawful for two or more persons to conspire to injure, oppress, threaten, etc. any person. And then my notes stop there, but Title 8, here's something else. Title 18, Section 241, it's conspiracy against rights. I mean, there are charges, and I'm not an attorney, but I educated myself in this area a little bit so I could at least, talk myself, out of a hole if I had to. Man, there are so many violations here, Lance. Gross violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. It gets very specific. The crime is torture, violation of 18 USC 2340. I could keep going all night. I literally could. But I've made all these notes, and I'm in the process of obtaining documents so I can officially file. Because there's a process, there's a due process when it comes to battling some of this magnitude. And I know the people who are listening to me speak tonight and listening to my story, there has to be a part of you that's maybe intrigued, or maybe the inquisitive nature is coming out in you, and you're wondering where my fear is. And I can tell you it doesn't exist. And I need not apologize to any of my family or my friends for my current state, because I'm in survival mode right now.
Sweet.
And I can't put high enough emphasis on what I just said. I mean, it is absolute dire straits survival. This is an incredibly serious situation, and we must do something about it, no matter the cost. Because no matter what, this is going to go public, and the world is going to know about this. It has to happen. It absolutely has to happen. And when I began to do even further research into the bloodline, you're going to find what I found. And I'm not going to disclose that because I want you to discover it in your own time and under your own conditions. And I want you to be able to take it in and perceive it through your ears and eyes, as opposed to me, I don't know, the commercialization of everything in this country. Every time we turn around, something is, thrust into our face. The marketing giant is definitely alive. But I don't want to sell anything to you. I hope that you find it yourself, and we collectively, and I'm incredibly confident in what I'm about to say, that we will collectively join together as a force, because we have all discovered the same thing and found the same thing, and we all have the same education about these unbelievable crimes that we have been a victim of. So, don't give up. Absolutely do not give up. And absolutely do not be fearful. If you can find humble and peace, even just a little bit of it, you'll get better at it as time goes by. Your strength will grow. The level of stress will begin to fade away. The tension, there's a difference between tension and stress. In this program, gangstalking program, it's a takedown program. That's one of the key factors in this program. And in fact, it's one of the main ingredients of control is tension. It's called hypertension. And their objective is to keep you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until you either kill yourself or you kill somebody that's following you and you get life in prison. Their goal is to conduct operations upon your person to keep you at a level of comfort that is intolerable for your mind or your body. So something, no matter what, has to break down. Something has to break down. There has to be a weak link, and they know that it's there, and that's what they're targeting. So I put high emphasis on being strong and taking back control of your mental state. You basically have been kidnapped. Don't allow this to continue. You can do something about it. And it starts with your mind and your heart. And before I go to bed tonight, I don't know who's listening to the show tonight. I don't know any of you yet. I hope in time that I can meet every last one of you, and we can rehash the night this got rolling. The wheels started turning and we were all there. It's a historical moment. We just don't know it yet. But when I lay down to go to bed tonight, I'm going to say a prayer for all of you guys and all of the victims of gang stalking in this country. I'm not a hardcore religious man. I don't force it upon other people, but through the discovery of this bloodline, I can assure you, I found something that they won't believe. But you being a victim of this crime, when you find this, it will answer every question you have ever had that has been unanswered up to this point in your life. It is the be all. It is it. The bloodline is the ultimate answer to humanity and why we're here. You just have to assert yourself and find it. Be careful, because obviously the government has a lot of whack job videos on there that will redirect you in other directions that offers information that's and the information will be diluted, washed, watered down. It will misguide you, redirect you, and it's going to happen. Don't get upset. Don't be angry. Don't feel depleted or defeated. Don't allow that stuff into your psyche. You know, take a hit, you get up, you keep going. Dust yourself off, say, you know what? I bet I get you next time. You know, it's kind of the mentality that I personally feel it's worked for me. So, you know, and I'm doing everything I can to give you every piece of information that I can over a digital device, given the circumstances. I've disclosed as much as I possibly can and keep us all safe. So
yes,
it's been an incredible session. In 5 years, I have not been able to sit down like this and just talk, uninterrupted, unedited, just me telling my story.
And live.
And so thank you so much to everybody that tuned in tonight.
Yes.
If any, or, you know, whatever it is, thank you. Thank you for being here and listening to my story. And Lance, thank you so much for having me, man. I mean,
it's an honor and a pleasure.
This means a lot to me, and thank you.
Most definitely. And like I said, it was divine, and that's how we do it here. And I'm so glad you found that particular video, and I'm so glad I put that number out there.
Amazing. I just, things are turning for a specific reason. And
yes.
So, you know, that's why I say thank you. But yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Good stuff.
Thank you. And this is the first of many. We're going to be, you know, as your heart leads you, you know, get out as much as you possibly can. This is how I do it. I'm like a fireman. If I'm here, which I'm home, just hit me back. And even if I'm not home, I'll make a time, and, you know, it could be late at night, middle of the night, or if I'm here, we're going to do it. So just know that. I know you got other things.
Just one quick thing.
Sure.
Because this is how serious I am about chasing this down and dealing with it. I read an article in the news today that obviously, you know, the elections and this uproar, and it's sad it really is sad to see that we have completely lost touch and with the humanitarian side of human existence. You know, you think of people like Nelson Mandela, one of my favorites. I mean, and near and dear to me, you know, the great humanitarians. Michael Jackson, that is one of the most tragic stories of gang stalking that exists.
Yes.
Michael Jackson was a typo. Anybody that knows anything about Michael Jackson or the history behind the court cases and the allegations, they set this man up. And, you know, I'm going to end it there, but I've done enough research into this world that we now live in. Our group, you know, our group of RH negatives who are a victim of our own government. I have discovered along my travels that there are some heinous cases in our news. O.J. Simpson was one of them. If you guys don't mind, please give me 3 minutes on the floor and I'll explain to you what happened to O.J. Simpson. We have some basic facts, and I refer to them as, and I just dubbed them myself, the simplistics. Simplistics are facts that average people or our society in general, you know, they buy these simplistics. They're easily sold on them. But after educating yourself on who you really are and your bloodline, you're going to see the world in a completely different viewfinder. It's going to change radically. And my mom is a testament to that, because about a year ago, I broke down and you know, disclosed to her because she's obviously inquisitive. And to see what has happened to her in the last year, This is real stuff. It is very real, and it's very current, and it will not stop. It absolutely will not stop until we force it to stop. But O.J. Simpson. So you got the Ronald Goldman, and then you have Nicole Brown Simpson. Okay, so there's no way, right now, right out of the gate, this is my case. There's no way that O.J. Simpson put on those gloves that wouldn't fit him, went over to Nicole Brown Simpson's house and waited outside and knew that they would be leaving at a certain time. There's no way. It's just, not only that, the stab wounds on both of their bodies, there's no way, there's absolutely no way that he committed that crime. And I knew that. I knew that from the inception of that case. When it took off, you know, I've had this sense of ESP about me because of my bloodline. When I seen the Susan Emery case, and she said she was carjacked and her 2 kids were in the car, I looked right at my girlfriend at the time and I said, she killed her kids. She argued it with me. My girlfriend argued the point and I left it alone. 9 days later, it surfaced in the news that they were pulling the car out of a lake and the 2 bodies were in the car, and she confessed. I mean, imagine living with what some of us live with and not being able to tell somebody.
That's gotta
Imagine growing up and having a certain gift, a talent, having an extremely high IQ, which is what the Rh negative bloodline is. That's its greatest characteristic and attribute, is a far greater, naturally, a far greater IQ than the Rh positive, you know, bloodline. You know, and I would never venture into saying something so arrogant or self-centered as to all men are not created equal. That's been said to me, and I quickly corrected the 2 individuals that said it, and I said, you know, because of what you just said, inadvertently is the reason why I am where I am today, because the mentality that produced the thought that produced those words out of your mouth. You know, this is a deep subject, but O.J. Simpson was set up, and I'm going to tell you what happened. Gang stalking, they implemented gang stalking, but they used a different form. After he was found not guilty, and you had the Mark Furman, the detective, who couldn't explain why he went to O.J. Simpson's house unannounced and also did not disclose that to the LAPD. He went over there in secrecy while he was on the clock, hopped the guy's fence, and mysteriously found 2 gloves. I mean, I don't know if anybody remembers this case, but I was completely blown away by this, that the American public bought that, or they were even trying to sell that to the American public. You know, I was flabbergasted by the whole case. And what happens? They didn't stop. They were unable to prosecute him. So what did they do? They went after him financially.
That's right.
And that's what has happened to all of us gang stalking victims. If they can't get you this way, they're going to get you that way. If they can't get you that way, they're going to add a little over here. They're going to add a little over there.
Break it down.
They're going to increase the pressure here. You know, they're going to tweak and tune their program. No matter what, they're going to tweak and tune it to you, and they're going to tweak and tune it to a degree in which it's completely beneficial to them, and you know, not for you or me. So they went after O.J. Simpson in a civil case. That was the next step they took, and they got judgment. Now, here's my question, and I believe in simplicity. So here comes a very simplistic question. If he was found not guilty of 2 counts of manslaughter, how can you justify ruining this man's life financially in a statement that he was responsible for their deaths? I mean, That's how screwed up the system is, that this actually made it through. You know, another interesting point was there were two people that were murdered on that crime scene. They played the ex-football player thing into this. They played every angle into this case that they could possibly play. And that Marcia Clark, I mean, she's a dangerous person, and I'm glad she's not practicing law anymore. And the dog, I don't get me started on the dog, because there's some important pieces of evidence that were missed. So they succeeded in destroying this man financially. When O.J. Simpson stood up for himself and said, you know what, I'm not going to give you the money that you were awarded through the court. You know, he basically fought back, and good for him. So they didn't succeed there. So what did they do? They had federal agents, undercover federal agents, you know, gang stalking operatives, if you will. They stepped in after a number of years, because everything up till that point had failed. He had evaded them, and he had survived and was living well, playing golf, living his own life. And so what did they do next? They planted these 4 guys into his life. Now, if anybody knows anything about this case and the manner in which they were staged into his life, was in the same manner in which most of us fall victim to this takedown program. They eased their way in. In fact, it took them 5 years to build a rapport with O.J. Simpson and, you know, critique things and tune things to their liking, to where it was beneficial and made their job much easier. But finally, after 5 years, what they did exactly is psychological warfare. That's when I go to you and I say, man, are you really going to let those people get away with that? Look what they did to you, you know? Come on, let's go get them. It's interesting because when they finally pumped him up to where he was so angry that he was going to go over there and get his Rolex watch back, mind you, the 4 operatives, they set up the deal. They came to O.J. Simpson and told him that they had a buyer for his Rolex watch. They took possession of the watch. They left with it. And then they returned at a later date and said that they had been ripped off and that he should go get the guy. And they gave him the gun to do it.
Wow.
I mean, that is one small case in the history of this country. There are tens of thousands of those cases. Back to Joyce Gilchrist. I mean, it's happening at an unprecedented rate. And I'm telling you, there are over 900,000 victims of this crime. So, you know, it seems a bit, you know, staggering, and it seems like a lot to take in. But keep it simplistic and keep yourself humble and completely alleviate the fear. And we got this. Trust me, we got this. You know, the evidence is there. There's no reason to attempt to, you know, to obtain any more evidence. It always helps for each individual case, but this wouldn't be an individual case. This would be a mass case, and the evidence is there. Organization would be needed. And I think I may be onto something, because watching the news today and the elections that are going on, I discovered that a group of women from Portland, Oregon, have created a private group, a private chat group, and you have to be a member to get in.
Right.
And so it's completely private. So I'm entertaining the thought of building something secure, because you know, it's the electronic infiltration that we have experienced. It's a threat. It exists, and it's present. It is there. So I want to look into taking measures to create a private circuit, if you will, of communication for victims of this crime. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to seek legal counsel, and I'm not going to disclose to them anything about this crime. It's none of their business.
Right.
And it would not be a smart move on my part or anybody's part who's involved in this. What I wish to do is discover the legal, the legal realm of creating a private domain, if you will, for members-only communication. So I'm going to entertain that. I'm going to look into that and begin to build this case. I am going to make an open offer to anybody who needs help, anyone who wants to get their voice out there, anyone who wants to help structure or facilitate or strengthen or offer, just a solid person or anything that is needed. I make an open offer to anybody, ideas, thoughts, anything. Being proactive that's what is now getting underway. I'm bringing in the proactive side of this case, and it won't be long. This is the easy part. I've survived, the tough part. And basically surviving the tough part was surviving myself. It's actually pretty simplistic. If you can control your own mind, you got this. I mean, and you got it by a long shot. It's so important for us to control our own mental health and our thoughts and our psychological makeup, and not allow it to be altered too much. It's going to be altered based on what we have been subjected to, but secretly, and don't verbalize this with anybody. Don't communicate it over any device. Don't front of the mirror. Do not let anybody know that you are putting your armor on, if you will. Don't let anybody know it. It's none of their business. And letting it out to anybody, it's essentially just giving them a little more power. But put your armor on and be very secretive about it. And then those are things that I have discovered through my travels that have helped me. So yeah, and I think I've said enough for one night. But I will tell you this, Lance. Over the course of the next day or two or whatever it is, I'm going to put some thought into my newfound, and I don't even know what to call this, because it's like the bright light is beginning to shine, and then I'm very excited to have this opportunity to speak to people. So I'm gonna raise the bar. Yes. And I'm going to push this even further, because you deserve it. Everybody listening to this tonight deserves it, and I deserve it. So that's why I'm going to raise the bar, and I'm going to push this a little further along, not faster than it needs to be, but I'm going to push this a little further along, and I will begin to make logs of educational points and strengths for people, just simple little things. And it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, but the points of importance, I'm going to make notes on that and begin to share it with people.
Thank you for that.
To know that you're not alone is incredibly valuable.
Yes.
And it's soothing to the human soul based on what we've gone through and what has happened to us. Oh, and another thing, Lance, I'm going to watch your video too. So When I discovered that, I jumped right to the phone and began to make contact. You know, I thought this can't be real. There's actually somebody out there that, you know, that I can talk to about this.
Oh, yes.
So, Lance, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay. Okay, my brother. I'm so appreciative of the time that you spent. I know that you cannot funnel a lifetime of experiences in 2 hours or even more. This is the first of many. And you are quite prophetic when you said that you wanted to form a platform of communication. It's something I'm working on right now that I already had, but I'm working on it more and intensely this week, and it should be finished in another 2 or 3 days. I'm going to speak to you about that, because I'll create a section of it that will be, and this, I thought this before you called, to create a section of that for TIs and the whole gang stalking, and tag it up that when people search it, it comes up. But I'm going to have to I'm going to have it heavily moderated, and that is something that I will do. And
yes, security. Not to cut you off, Lance, but and I just want to inject this because it's important. Security is obviously, you know, kind of el numero uno, you know, with us and what has happened. Security is, and I don't know a whole lot about, you know, that type of stuff. So thank you, Lance. And yes,
and even
that's
still,
awesome. And I'm so excited to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I can't.
I already have it set up. It's independent of my site. The thing is that anything that you put out online, the government can go through it easily. It's not a problem.
Absolutely.
Even other governments out of the country can go through it easily. But at least you know that you're knocking out 98% of those who would love to but can't. So you're still going to have to speak in a very guarded way, in a very coded way. And for those TIs out there, they're going to have to really reach out and trust each other a little more after they get that feeling that, well, this person is authentic. Because at first you're going to have a situation where you're going to have many people looking at each other, you know, suspiciously. So you know, things take time, but it will be created, and it's going to be unlimited. You can make your own profiles and stuff, and still remain anonymous to a point. And I'll allow certain people to do so, but if they do so, they're not going to get that level of trust up front. Me, myself, I'm out there, I'm transparent, so that helps people to come to me. Since we started talking, I had 3 people reach out to me on the same level. So this shows that, you know, out of the 1 million plus in this country, just spontaneously throwing this conversation and dialogue together, 3 caught it. And who knows how many more. And they'll come back into the fray, and then we'll see where we can get going with this. Because even though I can't officially say that I am in that category, I know eventually I will be, and I have felt the heat of it through things that have happened to me recently, because I do speak to everybody now. I allow people to talk. So I'm going to catch it, you know, and I have caught it. And there are things I have not mentioned here on the platform, you know, because I think for me right now, being this particular platform, I'm documenting everything. I'm going to be ready to put it out there, but not as of yet. And it's not because of fear, but it's because so many people, I'm not going to say they depend on me like I'm some big media conglomerate, but I'm that dependable place that, you know, is going to be there, you know? So, that being said,
Lance, I have in news media, I've got somebody.
Okay.
It is completely private at this point, and this has been going on for 5 years. They're well aware of this story. There's been audio and video, you know, taken of certain things and stuff. I just wanted to let you know, I have a substantial figure in news media. This individual is an investigative reporter, and they cannot wait to pounce on this.
Yes.
And they've been very respectful because they know the dangers, and they know the secrecy, and they understand the realm. They understand this situation, but I'm going to tell you, they're waiting to pounce on this.
Yeah.
So
and see,
they're on standby, basically, is what I'm telling you.
every you know, everybody cannot talk publicly. I understand that, especially with voice recognition. They can say anything anonymously over a phone and their voice is caught. I understand that. So I know that it's not always going to be where people who are a little more public, you know, I know they're handicapped for a little while to speak out that way, and in different positions, whether they're public or not, you know, just certain crucial individuals. And look, people don't understand how advanced the technology is more so. They're so blinded by what they hold in their hand in the form of a smartphone. But this is a hand-me-down. This stuff has been around for 30 or 40 years. They had this 30 and 40 years ago. So if they're giving us this now, what do they have? And we have an idea, but it's far beyond what we can imagine. So I'm going to roll.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
I have to inject that into this conversation. And thank you, Lance, for saying that, because during my research, I've discovered some other things, and those are the things that I did not discuss tonight. I would like to throw something out at this point, and I need to give this to whoever is willing to listen to this, because it is incredibly important. And you led me into saying this, so once again, thank you. Now, as far as like, say, you know, if something was top secret, or if it, and you knew it was, or if it, you know, then you get into, you know, violations of laws. Initially, they could say that it is. Ultimately, in the end, it would be proven that it's not. And if they did not conduct themselves in a professional manner, this would all be documented. The thing about it is, I have adopted a theory, and this is how I operate. I'm not private about anything. Nothing. I hide nothing. My passwords, obviously I have my passwords. I don't make attempts to hide anything. My cell phone is encrypted, but that is the only thing, that is the only source of non-disclosure that exists with me in my case. I learned in my travels that in the psychological studies that I have done myself, and I'm not a professional, but I read books and I'm not stupid, you know. So during my, you know, my phase of finding, if you will, I have found that it is far more effective for us and incredibly beneficial to become completely transparent. I don't hide from anybody. I don't hide anything from anybody. I don't. And the reason why I have adopted this theory, because what I'm about to enter into, I need that to travel into this next realm with me. That needs to be an identifiable, you know, characteristic of mine. It needs to be put out there. You ask me anything, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you the truth, whether it hurts me or you. You know, and that is the mentality. It is the mentality of an honest human being with good moral fiber, who is in attempt to fix a situation that somebody has created. And no matter what, if we stay vigilant and transparent, that's how we keep them away from us. It's an incredible defense mechanism. You know, my level of honesty and my level of boldness these are all things that I've had to build. I've had to create these tools myself in order to survive. And I'll tell you, it has worked tremendously. It has changed the game completely. I don't stay away. Now, obviously, there are websites and stuff that I stay away from.
Right.
Because I'm smart. I don't go to Infowars.com. I don't log on to the website. I know very little about it. You know why? Because it has absolutely nothing to do with my case, and it's not going to help me. The only thing it's going to do is going to pump me up and get me all stressed out and add other angles and ingredients into a situation that's complicated to begin with. It's a waste of, and I just use that website for an example, because I see a lot of people who don't know anything about what we're going through, but they are so sold. They lock, stock, and barrel. I mean, they're in it. They're all about it. You know, this conspiracy stuff and on all this other stuff. And I can tell you something, my friend, what we have is real. Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no question. Absolutely not a single question that what we are experiencing and what is happening to us is something that we could actually take in front of a court. And we could actually have people incarcerated and we could actually convict thousands of people.
Isn't that something?
It can be done and it's going to happen. But I just made a pact with myself that I will disclose anything. And there's no reason to hide anything. And they don't like that. They hope that I run into my bedroom and crawl under my bed and keep my mouth shut and hide everything from everybody.
That's right.
Because I'm doing them a favor, you know, if I take that route. And you know what? Mm-hmm. The first 2 years, that's what I did, because it was a natural defense mechanism that came out. Shut my mouth, hide, stay away from everybody. I'll be okay.
Right.
That's not the case. They are in full control of Craigslist. Mm-hmm. Jobs that I've applied for, weeks later, I investigate the people I'm working for, come to find out, I find 9, 10, 11, 12 aliases. They have homes in 14 different states. I find photographs of them owning various businesses all over the country. And just yesterday, I confronted the guy that I just quit working for yesterday. I said, look, man, who are you? And I stayed away from the feds talk. I stayed away from all of that. And one thing I do not do, I never accuse anybody of anything. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. This is a tactic used by the Central Intelligence Agency and the FBI. How do I know this? Because I looked into them. I investigated them. I've read more of their books in the last 3 years than I can't even count. I don't remember. It's been over 30, but there was a phase there where I began to investigate them and study them and find out some of the tactics that they use and read the history behind specific cases and stuff like that. And I learned in my travels, once again, for myself, not to ask people of authority, law enforcement. You know, there are certain people that fit into this category, but I absolutely, under no circumstances do I ask a question unless I know the answer already.
Right.
And that's serious. That is very serious stuff right there. If I do not possess the ability or the intelligence to go find the information or some of the information myself, I will do my best to implicate someone else to come in and help me with it. When I have the evidence, and if it's a question that needs to be asked, then I ask the question. Sometimes you can tell somebody that you know something by asking a question. I mean, you know, I guess in a way there are some benefits to being a victim of gang stalking. Mm-hmm. It's scary as hell. It is. And it's still to this day, on a daily basis, I battle with the psychological side of this crime.
Of course.
And, you know, keeping myself in check and, you know what, it sucks right now. And I really don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm going to keep going in that direction no matter what. So, you know, it's, but back to the, you know, organizing, creating some type of organization. And, so I gathered that idea from a story that I read in the news today. You know, people were boycotting businesses that certain people use that voted for a certain candidate, and then, you know, it made perfect sense. But security is an issue, and I'll tell you why it's an issue. It's an issue not because of what they're going to find if they dig into our network. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there, you know. We're talking about, you know, facts in a case, and we're talking about all these things. There's really nothing there for them to find. Mm-hmm. But what we're missing what we're missing is something so simplistic, and that's why we're missing it, because it's so simplistic. I read in a case what they were doing, they were infiltrating a doctor's computer, and they weren't looking for anything on the computer. They just wanted him to know that they were infiltrating his computer. That's all they wanted to, because it was a part of their operation. And, you know, the guy ended up being guilty, and well, you know, I understand why they did that, but, you know, there's tactics that can be used, and there's mentalities that can be adopted. There's behaviors that can be adopted by us that are effective in many ways, and I mean very effective. The transparency that basically is saying to them, yeah, we're fully loaded. We got firewalls. We got all this. We got all that. You know, but, you know, if you feel you need to break in, you know, knock yourself out, kid, you know.
Right.
But, you know, that is an ingredient to what I spoke of earlier, of getting over the fear and overcoming the fear, because then it releases all that energy that's been tied up with maintaining mental health. So being vigilant it's everything. But, you know, transparency, I don't have anything to hide.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing I could, as a matter of fact, I even had this idea of, and you know what, it's going to come down to this at some point, but a network, and I have to research the technology to see, I know that it's available,
yes,
but I have to see if it's attainable as far as financially, and, you know, if it's even conceivable. But I could literally see 10,000 people who are in a network, and they all have, you know, cameras in their house that are all tied into the same network. You know, it's not as mind-boggling as it seems, but when you begin to think about the psychology side of that,
right,
you know, there's a lot to be discovered, you know, and right now it's just, you know, preliminary, but I am making steps in the right direction.
It takes time. It takes time, and nothing will be revealed to you more than what you need at that time, and more than what you can handle. So it's an invert compliment from the Most High that you are going through this, because that shows that you are equipped to deal with this. You see what I mean? You faced that, and now you've accepted the challenge. And like I said, you know, as a fighter, and a fighter is not just a person who fights in a boxing ring, but using that example that we all know, just to step through those ropes, it's a big accomplishment, because you risk so much. And this is a lot harder, a lot tougher, and on a whole different level than a mere boxing match. Because when you cower, it's even worse, because you just give the win away. But instead of worrying about what the opponent's going to do, you know that in any fight you're going to get hit. So what you do, you make up your mind what you are going to do, and you focus on that. And you just say to yourself, I'm prepared. I did all that I could to be ready for this moment. So there's no worry inside of me. I'm concerned, but I'm going to assert myself and utilize everything that I've learned and put forth, and may the best man win. And you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, because already once you make up your mind that way, you are the winner. Once you make up your mind to be the winner, you are the winner. It's like a man or a woman who wants to lose 200 or 300 pounds. You lost it already once you make up your mind. It's just a matter of going through those motions to make that thought, to make that dream a reality, because everything that happens in front of us is the product of a thought and a dream. So once you put it in your mind and you're willing to throw down and give everything, it's a done deal. It's a wrap.
It's a done deal. That's it. Right. Thank you so much for saying that, Lance. You're a man of great wisdom, and I feel very lucky to be in this conversation with you. You're a man of intelligence, and you know this because you've experienced it.
Oh yes.
And you know, I look forward to our travels.
Yes.
You know, this is going to be an adventure, and I'm more than up for it. So I got to get going,
yes.
Lance.
Yes, I know you do.
Thanks to everybody
yes.
Who sat in on this tonight and and devoted your time to this. And I hope that everybody, to some degree, took some notes down. There was some incredibly damaging evidence that was disclosed publicly tonight. I urge anyone who wants to spread this, share it, explain it, begin to help other people, use this information, use it wisely, and use it to your advantage. And most importantly, mean well and fight the good fight. But I want you to use the information I have given you to empower yourself and educate yourself, so we can all stand up and put an end to this.
Yes.
It's going to end regardless. At some point in history, this is going to come to an end, because the world will change. Socially, our social habits, everything, as time has proven, our society will change. And this will no longer be acceptable. It will be an unthinkable thought. We can't believe they actually did that type, did those types of things to innocent people just because of who they are. And we, as humans, have a history of isolating people based on their skin color, their religion. But now it's gone even further than that. It's now a bloodline. It's struggle to preserve and save an entire bloodline. And I use my words lightly when I speak of this topic, because there's so much involved in this. So, once again, I feel really good about this, and I feel absolutely privileged that I've been able to share my story.
Likewise.
With you guys tonight. So.
Likewise on this side. Likewise.
Yeah.
Nobody could have brought it like you. I mean, we all have our ways of bringing it, but your particular way has been very effective, and I'm just honored. And I felt it in my soul that I had to do this tonight. If you said 2 weeks or a month, it would have broke my heart. I felt the same thing too. So, yeah. Oh yeah. This day was set up for this, and this is the show. Let me just say this before we end off and before you go, that this is to show that when something's divinely ordered, it works along so smooth. If we had scheduled this from last month, there would have been obstacles, some type of cancellation, some type of anxiety thrown on us. Sometimes you have to roll with it. That's a lesson, not even just for talk shows, but for things that you do in life. When you feel that gut feeling and something tells you, and we have to be more intuitive, because that's one of the ways that we're going to defeat the enemy on so many different levels. He can't beat that intuition, that connectedness to that higher power, and that connectedness that we have to each other. We have it to each other. You obeyed it tonight. I obeyed it tonight. And look what you produced tonight to share with everybody. Wonderful. And I thank you for that, brother. So I know you have to go. And
it's been a great day in history, and I'm going to leave everybody with this thought. Please carry this thought with you. I think a lot of people and historians also know this, and I'm going to say this. Look at our history and just look back over time. Look at genocide. Look at diamond factories in Africa. Look at the injustices and the evils of the world. They have all come to an end,
right,
at one point or another. It always happens. It is inevitable. It's unavoidable. It is going to happen. This is going to come to an end, and I want to be a part of it. I've gone this far, and I have done something that no one else has ever done in the history of this country. I have solved this crime.
Right.
There are non-believers at this point, and there are believers. I will back this with my life and my soul. This is an RH negative bloodline takedown program. And we are going to end this. This is going to come to an end, and this will be exposed to the public. I am not a man of vengeance. I am not a man of punishment. That's not what this is about. it's about educating people and making them aware that there are victims of crimes in this country that are unspeakable. When something is unbelievable to somebody, when you're telling somebody that you've known all of your life, then you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, because every one of you have been there at some capacity.
Yes.
In one way or another. You know what it's like to be completely debilitated. You know what it's like to live in constant fear and disarray, not knowing what's going to happen next. And still to this day, I don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes from now. I just don't know, because of the serious nature of what we are experiencing. I hope to look back on this in 5 years from now,
yes,
and remember this landmark day in history when we came together and began initial discussions in an effort to expose this. So this is really incredible. And I'm going to get going, Lance. I'm going to say a prayer for all you guys tonight, all the victims of gang stalking. I'm going to pray for all of you guys extensively tonight. And may the Lord be with all of us and protect the bloodline. And I'm going to go. So good night, everybody. And good night, Lance. Once again, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I look forward to the next one.
Thank you, brother. We will be speaking soon.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Good night.
Take care.